What's going on, guys? This is Julia Ladusky-Anto and Christian Anto with Team Elite FTS, and we are coming to you guys to basically talk about our last training cycle, what we were doing, if it worked, how the meet went, and just giving you a step-by-step on everything that went on in our training cycle to lead up to either a really good meet or a really bad meet. Both of us have put out training logs regarding our meet, and we just wanted to be a little bit more personable and make kind of an overall video regarding what we did. So the training block, we kind of had fun with it, and we called it Conjuphasic. And we're going to answer basic questions and then get a little bit more in depth. And I'm going to start by asking Julia, did the overall program work?
I would say yes.
Okay. Why would you, before we say why, Conjuphasic in review, in your opinion, how would you describe it if someone asked, what is this?
Basically, I would describe it as the melding between conjugate principles, which are known as max effort, dynamic effort, and your repetition effort, and then bringing in some triphasic principles to the program as well. So, and how we incorporated those together and blended them together is kind of how we ended up with what we did.
Gotcha. So, the overall program you thought worked. Did you consider the conjuphasic work that we did to work in the program?
I did, and actually I felt like that phase, so the first 9 weeks, which is what we called the conjuphasic, I thought it worked really well, and I felt extremely strong by the end of it. I thought that the 3-week waves of the eccentric work, the isometric work, really helped me to hone in on some tiny details of technique, such as staying tight on the way down in squat and bench, being able to hold position for a longer period of time, which happens when you are doing a max effort squat in a meet. So I felt those principles that we utilized, those triphasic principles, really helped me technically to fix some of the things that I was struggling with.
Okay, very cool. So diving a little deeper into this whole programming thing, and I'm going to bounce back on what Julia said. The first 9 weeks. So the first 9 weeks is where that block, or where we're accumulating strength, that's what we called conjuphasic. And my overall answer to did the program work, I'm very skeptical and hard on myself. I'm going to say it didn't. Okay. However, that is the overall program as a whole. That is from day one during GPP all the way to meet day. Okay, and I'll get into why I don't think that worked. As far as the conjuphasic, I think, along with Julia, I think it worked perfectly. Okay, and the reason that it worked is because, one, at its base, it's conjugate. Okay, this whole conjuphasic thing is just a play on words. I've said this in all of my free program series. No program is new. No concept is new. Nothing has been reinvented here. We took two concepts that have been around for a very long time and just laid them over one another in the exact same training session. Okay, guess what? It's still conjugate because you're still training max effort, repetition effort, and dynamic effort all at the same time. Okay, we are just taking implements and making them our secondary movement from the triphasic principles. Okay? There's a lot of great lifters that run a straight conjugate program that implement paused benches, paused squats, paused deadlifts, okay? Or eccentrics on all the main movements, okay? It's been around forever. We just isolated it into certain times of our training. Together eccentrics, together isometrics, together concentrics, at particular times following the triphasic theory, if you will. Okay, so the first 9 weeks, it suggested 3 weeks of eccentrics, 3 weeks of isometrics, 3 weeks of concentrics. Okay, 9 weeks. That worked perfect. Like, as Julia said, she felt strong. I felt super strong. We were both extremely strong going into our next block phase, which was still a conjugate style of training. It was just transitioning us from specialty stuff to a straight bar. We were still using accommodative resistance on all of our main movements. However, This whole training block, from the accumulation of strength all the way to the peak, lasted 18 weeks. Okay, we did 18 weeks without a stereotypical or traditional deload. By the second or third week in our transmutation block, or transition from specialty equipment to more competition-based movements, we were smoked. We hit fantastic numbers, and right after we hit those fantastic numbers going into peak, we tanked hard. I personally feel that's how I got injured, and I had to do damage control with Danny, Elite FTS teammate Danny, who got me to the meet and be able to actually participate in the meet without having to pull out. And we had to really look at Julia's squat and deadlift and really pull back on the last several weeks to try and recover or kind of like put together something to get through the meet. So that's why I think the Conjuphasic program does work and will work, and that's one of the reasons that we ran it, both of us, to see how to implement it better. We now know what to change, and those things to change are that transitional phase of getting out of specialty equipment. Again, remember, this Conjuphasic, the bringing in the triphasic, is implemented on the secondary movements. Okay, so the secondary movements and primary movements in our concentric phase. Now we can just take the transmutation that we were trying to do after that. We'll just move that into that phase. That cuts out 3 weeks of training. We can add a deload depending on if our body tells us we need one or not. And then we can hop straight into a peaking block, feeling strong, and taking that all the way to the meet. So we're basically, on the front end, potentially cutting out 3 weeks of training to give our body a rest and to go into the meet a little bit more on fire. Or we can add another week or 2 weeks of deloads so that we can constantly be taking our strength and accumulating it all the way until we peak the top of that pyramid, so that at meet day we aren't beat up, we are ready to go. One of the YouTube videos that Dave and Joe Sullivan just put out was talking about two individuals could be 100 to 250 pounds in similarity on total. If you think about that, that's a huge difference in total. But whoever's beat up less is going to win at the meet. So you're going to be beat up one way or the other. It is managing that damage control getting to the meet. And I personally think because of the length of our training cycle, we did not do a good job managing that damage control, and we were far, far too beat up going into the meet.
Yeah, and we talked about a few other ways to kind of shorten the cycle down by either shortening the front end of the program to have a shorter conjuphasic period as well. Myself, and even Christian being in the sport as long as we have, and I had a conversation with Dave Tate, and just being a little bit more aware of auto-regulating before you hit that point of where you've dug too deep of a hole. So the program, I think, overall is a fantastic program, and the nice thing is that we've run it on ourselves, and some of our training partners were guinea pigs as well. So moving forward with it, I think we have a pretty good idea of how to really make it work, because overall it was, I felt, a fantastic program that I got extremely strong on.
So if you guys are curious about the program or anything in general regarding your programming or getting ready for a meet or what to do after a meet, you can check out my blog stuff. You can check out Julia's blog stuff. You can get a hold of Julia at
julia.ladusky@gmail.com.
or you can get a hold of me at the number 19, CAN, I don't even know my last name, CANTO, the number 85 @gmail.com. You can look us both up on EliteFTS.com. On our blog pages, she's under coaches, I'm under athletes, and everybody else on there. If you have any more questions or comments, we'll talk to you guys later.